Let me bring in our guest on the program today. He's standing by in Columbia, South Carolina, where he practices criminal defense work. Attorney John Mobley is on the show. John, this incident, oh so tragic. Share with us your take in seeing the video. I know we don't know everything yet. We're not privy to the entire investigation, but just on the facts as we know them today, your thoughts, please.
Well, based on the circumstances and the video, it's an unfortunate perfect storm of tragedy in this case. I mean, it's certainly important that law enforcement have the ability to get no-knock warrants if the circumstances justify it. I mean, if they're serving a warrant on a place where there's narcotics and they've got the knock first, then the suspects have the opportunity to flush drugs down the toilet, destroy evidence. If they're searching a location where a suspect is known to be armed and dangerous, then yeah, you don't want to knock on the door and announce yourselves. But this circumstance where they had a legitimate warrant, a legitimate no-knock warrant, and this poor gentleman was rightfully and lawfully in his home, rightfully exercising his right to own a firearm, is just a perfect storm of tragedy. I do think it's important. You know, I know there's a lot of talk. There should be some backlash, understandably, but I think it's important not to have a knee-jerk reaction every time there's a bad outcome. I mean, this is the real world. Unfortunately, mistakes, even tragic mistakes on all levels, can happen and will happen. But I don't think it's a good idea to make a knee-jerk reaction and say, well, because we had an isolated bad result that we're going to just change law wholesale. The reverse could be true. You could have a circumstance where, you know, they take away or don't have no-knock warrants and the officers enter a residence and a cop gets shot and killed. And you're going to have the pendulum swing the other way. And you know, oh my God, we need to make it easier for law enforcement to get no-knock warrants. So I think what it comes down to is whether or not there's a systemic problem in how these warrants are issued and executed. That's what it comes down to in that jurisdiction. That's what needs to be addressed and looked at.
Right, right. And to your point there, John, on Friday, Mayor Jacob Frey, who's the mayor of Minneapolis, Minnesota, announced a moratorium on no-knock warrants. I said they won't be used for the foreseeable future. Apparently, the mayor, I suppose, has that ability to try to exercise that type of control over something like that. What's your reaction to knowing that was the mayor's response to this? Can he do that, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, I don't know the law in that particular state, but I disagree with that type of response. That's a political knee-jerk response. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the citizens are protesting, they're unhappy, you know, and I really have distaste for politicians that get involved in hot-button issues because it's politically expedient at the time, when, you know, there have been no other issues that, or no other incidents where the mayor felt it was necessary to get involved. I don't like reactions like that. I mean, I definitely like the response from the Attorney General's office regarding transparency and a full investigation. I think it's appropriate that the officer, you know, be suspended during the investigation. But these type of knee-jerk reactions every time there's a bad outcome, I just don't think that's good for the public at all to do that. I think there needs to be the investigation and transparency, and you have the results released to the public. You determine whether or not there's anything systemically wrong with the process and in either A, obtaining the warrants, or B, in how they're executed. You look at that. You look at the conduct of the individual involved in this case. I mean, it was just apparently one officer. You know, you don't have a situation where you have the entire SWAT team that unloaded bullets. And, you know, the unfortunate reality is the poor victim that was killed did have a firearm. So you have these officers that get a warrant, which indicates there's a high threat or high possibility of a threat inside the location. And when they enter the location, what do they, you know, what do they receive? They see a person with a firearm. So I don't think the force was excessive based on the video, and based on the findings. Once again, you have one officer that fired a shot as opposed to the entire team, you know, letting loose a hail of 18 bullets from automatic weapons. So I just think that type of reaction from the mayor is something I find rather distasteful.
Mm-hmm. I really appreciate your commentary, John. I think with every case, everyone should really listen to you. Knee-jerk reactions aren't good. We have to know all the facts. Everything has to be played out. And you're absolutely right about how things are politicized, how tragedies are politicized. And sometimes you see people speaking up when they feel like the opportunity is just ripe for it. But every case is different. I know you know that. And the information we have is very limited. Before we go to break, one more fact we learned. Judge Peter Cahill, the judge who presided over the Chauvin trial, who we know is a very thoughtful, astute judge, was the one who actually signed the no-knock warrant. So that being said, we're going to continue. Would you say, John? I'm sorry.
Small world.
Small world. Right. I mean, here we're back in Minneapolis. It just, some of my, colleagues and friends there keep saying, it's really something that we're seeing so many eyes focused on Minneapolis. I mean, after, the killing of George Floyd, and then, we're seeing the Kim Potter case. We saw that play out. I mean, that was in the same, courtroom even that we saw in the Chauvin case. And now we're back with the Amire Locke case. You hate to see all of these horrible incidents unfolding. John Mobley, have to leave it there for today, but thank you so much for your insight and analysis on that.